Tesla Model 3 is not getting much love from Consumer Reports. What else is new? But the response from Elon was actually kind of surprising. Also, China announced that they're going to cut down on 25% imported car tariff, which is kind of a big deal, but is it? We'll talk about that as well. And all-electric pickup truck is set to be announced at the LA's Auto Show with some impressive specs, including 450-mile range. Should we believe all of that? We're going to talk about it all, plus the comment of the day, coming up next.
Taking over the world, electrifying the world, electric.
Welcome to the show. If you're watching me on Patreon Live, thank you so much for supporting the show. It's very important for the show to stay independent and move forward. So if you want to contribute, patreon.com/E4Electric. And if you're watching me on the YouTube in the replay, welcome as well. Please consider subscribing if you want to stay up to date with everything that's going on in the world of electric cars. Of course, here's the schedule for the interview. Steve Burns, the Workhorse CEO, was just on the show. Check out that video, is already posted. Then Michael Persky, the CEO of Automobili Pininfarina, and then Chad Bolch with Chevrolet Communications is going to be here in the next couple of days. All right, let's talk about the Consumer Reports. Now, they haven't been big fans of Tesla, and Tesla hasn't been really a big fan of them, but they've come up with a report about Tesla Model 3 that they said they can recommend the car for a few reasons. The main reason was that the stopping distance from 60 miles an hour to 0 was way too long, and it actually was longer than their test of Ford F-150. They also said that there's some noise, which is a little bit weird, I have to say. I don't know anybody who complained about that, including myself. And they also said the controls on the screen are a little bit too complicated, and I might agree with that. But let's go with the first one now. Elon started replying on Twitter, which I was like, oh my God, this is going to be another, but actually it turned out to be too bad. At first he said, listen, we tested it. We had much different results. Motor Trend and tested it. They got different results. Now I got to tell you, Motor Trend obviously had a pretty good relationship with Tesla. They were one of the first, if not the first magazine to get a hold of the media car for the Model 3. So just so you know, there's a connection there. But then Elon actually said that, you know what, if we need to fix it, we will fix it, even if it's on a physical upgrade. We're going to go ahead and do it. So he kind of actually mend up to it, and then after that they said, you know what, they did find an issue, and they're going to fix it in the next few days with an over-the-air update. Now, of course, there are a lot of questions. Why wasn't this discovered earlier? Why wasn't it, tested correctly? Maybe I really don't know. So that's a little bit odd. But I'm glad at least Elon is handling it much better than I kind of even almost expected him to. So I'm really actually happy about that. Now, let's talk about the Consumer Report claim that they didn't like the touch screen and all the controls. Now, they do have a point because there are some things like air conditioning and adjusting of the mirrors that you do have to make an extra couple of clicks versus just reaching out to the physical thing and a physical button and doing it. These operations are relatively common, so yes, you have actually made it a little more complicated because you just have to make a few more clicks. Obviously, it's much easier on a touch than looking at the screen, especially if you're driving, so that is an issue. But at the same time, we have to understand that we're moving forward with the technology and we have to adapt, right? No one's complaining that the smartphones don't actually have the physical buttons to dial the number. And yes, you have to, unlock the phone, click on the app, and then actually bring up the dialer. Yes, it is kind of the same issue, but we're kind of moving forward with this, and we have to take the good with the bad. With the air conditioning, I might have to agree because a lot of people kind of adjust it as they drive, and just reaching out and messing around with it would be at least a good option to do it manually. Maybe they'll come back to it. So I'm kind of 50-50 on that. Both sides have a point, I think. So that's that, and I'm very happy about how this is being handled, and very surprising actually, if anything. So all right, well, before we move on to another part of a few other stories, let me remind you that this show is sponsored by Evanex, and the entire channel is actually sponsored by Evanex, the aftermarket accessories for Tesla. There's a discount code in the description of this video, so go ahead and grab that whenever you're ready to shop there. So, all right, another pretty big story, actually could have been a headline story as well here, but China has finally decided that they will, they've announced it earlier that they're going to lower the tariff for the imported cars, but now they're announcing it for sure. They're going to lower it from 25%, which is a ridiculous. As you know, United States has a 2.5, 10 times as less of a tariff on imported cars. From 25%, they're going to lower it to 15%. And I got to tell you, I mean, yes, it's good that it's lower, but at the same time, it's still way too high if you ask me. Obviously, it's way higher still than we have on important cars and other goods that come from other countries, including China. So I'm not really sure if this is really a win, if you ask me. This is I got to tell you, I was expecting something closer to 2 to 5%. So. And I'm not. So let me know in your comment section. I'm actually quite curious to know if you guys agree with this or not. Now, of course, they are immediately going to allow manufacturers of electric cars to actually go ahead and start building their factories, and Tesla probably will. They're going to make an announcement soon with that, and that way they will avoid paying the tariff. Of course, a lot of manufacturers already kind of tied in with the joint ventures in China, so they probably will kind of have to stick with it for a while. And electric cars makers are going to do it first, and then they go roll it out slowly all the way to 2022, when all auto manufacturers will be able to manufacture in China without any tariffs or a requirement to have a joint venture. All right, another interesting story, the company called Vivian, they have been around since 2009, haven't done much since then, but they are saying that they've been working on the car, actually a couple of them, and they're going to announce it at the LA Auto Show. I'm looking at my cheat sheet. This is going to be all-electric truck and also an all-electric SUV. 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds, 450-mile range, though the lower standard battery pack will have 200-mile range, still pretty good. The price is going to be somewhere between $50,000 and $90,000, so relatively decent. Now, I mentioned this company has been around for almost 10 years, and they haven't done much at all, but they do have a factory in Illinois that they've actually bought from Mitsubishi, including all of the equipment. So they're actually in a pretty good position to start manufacturing the car. They are saying that they're going to start production in 2019. I have no pictures really to share with you guys, just their logo. I'm going to reach out to them and see what's going on, but actually already have, but that's some exciting news. Definitely looking forward to it. I should be at LA Auto Show to cover this for you. And also Ford said that the concept that they had called Mach 1 for a crossover SUV, they actually decided that they're going to announce it, and they're going to, let me look at my other cheat sheet. They're going to start deliveries in 2020, and they're going to unveil it next year. It's going to be a crossover. Really, that's all we know. Now, this, normally I wouldn't cover this at all, but for Ford, this is kind of big news that they're actually finally doing it. So I will keep my eye on it. Again, no pictures, no spec, nothing really. They're just announcing that they're going to announce it. So take it for what it is. All right, let's move on to comment of the day. This one comes, and I can't believe I'm going to be talking about the royal wedding for the second time in a row, but I am. Now, the comment comes from DigiKid Forever. He says, this is a show on electric cars, not some dumb royal wedding. Royalty is dead, and rightfully so. They are no better or worse than any else, so all of this stupid nonsense over the wedding is the complete garbage. Okay, listen, I'm I'm sure you know I wasn't covering the royal wedding. I was covering the car, which was all electric Jaguar that they used to get the hell out of there, I guess. And that is big news, because any a public sort of promotion of electric cars is good. Now, I don't care. Like the other day, Kanye West, even though I absolutely hated his tweets, as I usually do, but he announced that he is getting into the Model S finally. And as much as I hate the guy and as much as I hate his tweets, that was a good thing for electric cars, because he does have a following, and some of those people never considered it until he probably tweeted it out to them. They're like, oh, you know what we should do? We should maybe look into electric cars. Same here. Listen, when there are a lot of people who follow royalty, love them or hate them, but they follow them, and whatever it is that they use, people follow, like for real, not on Twitter. I mean, they literally follow their footsteps. So I bet the fact that they've drove off in an all-electric car is definitely made some mark on some people that are saying, oh, well, maybe this is something I should, kind of rethink. So that's why it's a big deal. Nobody cares about the royal wedding, at least here, and I agree with you. But listen, this is still, big and good news for all of us. So I definitely kudos to them for doing that. Of course, they could have driven away in a, gas-powered Rolls-Royce, right? But they didn't. They drove away in an all-electric car. And just like I said, I think it's a big deal. But thank you so much for your comment. That's it for me for today, though. I'll see you tomorrow once again at 11 a.m. Until then, remember to stay charged.